Here we go. What is going on? Cover One crew. Chris Chow's back again. Hope everybody's doing great out there as per usual. It is week number 14. Start sit lineup advice. And I got you covered because, this is the last ditch effort to get into the playoffs and win those trophies, win that money, high-value leagues. I love it, man. But, I got you covered. If you're on the cusp of making it in the playoffs, I definitely got you covered. So follow me for the next little bit, and I will get you those victories. So let's get to it. Waste no more time. Let's go, week number 14. So what is the biggest problem outside of, trying to make it into the fantasy playoffs? It is bye week hell, bye week Armageddon once again. We got, 6 teams on the bye, plus the Thursday night football game that already transpired. We got the Falcons, the Bears, the Packers, the Colts, the Saints, the Commanders, the Commies. They're all on the bye week. So now you got to find a way to fill in your roster. Hopefully you had yourselves covered before this happened. But let's dive into those Arizona Cardinals taking on the New England Patriots on Monday Night Football. Kyler Murray, man, they're coming off the bye week. I'm giving them a low risk. I think they're going to play very well in this contest. They're rested up. Yes, they need the win just for pride. They're not really playing for anything else. They're 4-8 right now. But Kyler Murray and this, depending on if he wants Cliff Kingsbury to return, maybe he doesn't play as well. But I think Kyler is going to show out in this contest. They want to play well, I do believe. So I'm giving Kyler a low risk. James Conner gets a mid-level risk because the New England Patriots do possess a decent run defense, and he might not be able to find as many holes, but I'm still firing up a James Conner where you got him, as is DeAndre Hopkins and Marquise Hollywood. I'm firing up these gentlemen as well, even though the Patriots defense, like I said, overall is still very good and very stout. I think that Kyler is going to be able to move the ball around off the week of rest. They're going to be able to do it at home on Monday night. They're going to want to showcase the talents in front of the world stage. So for me, it's going to be an interesting game, maybe not high scoring, but I think those guys are pretty safe this week to play in your lineups, man. The Baltimore Ravens taking on those Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. No Lamar Jackson, and this one hurts, man, because I lost Lamar too. We're scrambling. Tyler Huntley is the, waiver wire pickup to replace a Lamar Jackson. I know it's a bigger risk than a lot of people want to take. I'm giving him a mid-level risk. He has not started any game that he has started. He has gotten at least 40 rushing yards. So there is rushing upside for this man. The ability to get into the end zone on his rushing skills, it is also there. He got off, last week? Almost 17 points. So the floor isn't really poor for a Huntley. As long as he's not turning the ball over, he can definitely get us that 15 points this week, especially if your wire for quarterbacks is thin. Kenyon Drake and Gus Edwards, very tough to dissect. No word on J.K. Dobbins as of yet. It looked like they still haven't activated him from the injured reserve, so you're still going with a Kenyon Drake and a Gus Edwards. I'm trusting Gus over Drake once again this week. They still like to feed the volume to a Edwards over Kenyon, so mid-level risk for an Edwards, high-level risk for a Drake. There might be PPR upside, but how many balls are really going to go around? Might be a very safe game plan for the Baltimore Ravens. Hopefully Huntley can, execute. Devin Duvernay still on my high risk. I have not gotten back to the good graces for this man. He just has not produced. I am not starting Duvernay anywhere. Demarcus Robinson, I'm giving him mid-level risk because the ball's got to go somewhere, and I'm going for lesser coverage, greater efficiency rates for target share for a Demarcus Robinson over a Devin Duvernay. Mark Andrews, I'm going to go back to the well and give him a low risk. I think this is the safety blanket play. Huntley's going to be looking for him early and often when the checkdowns are needed, when the first downs are needed on third down, and Mark Andrews should have a much better day than what he's had the past several weeks. Huntley, for me, though, it is a mid-level risk. I am playing him in one league over, starting him for the injured Lamar Jackson, I should say. So we'll see how it goes. I practice what I preach. So if Huntley can pop off, I'm going to be smiling ear to ear. The Buffalo Bills Mafia taking on those New York Jets. And man, the Bills want this one bad after they got beat by the Jets in the first show in the first meeting in New York. This one's in Buffalo. Josh Allen, I'm giving them the stud start, man. They're coming off the extra rest because they played on Thursday Night Football. Allen was not, I believe, on the injury report anymore with the elbow, so stud start for me. I think he's going to want to show out big time in this one for the Buffalo Bills. Devin Singletary, James Cook, both get a mid-level risk for me. Yes, the New York Jets defense is very good versus the run as well. They're going to be tight holes to find, but James Cook for me could be the higher upside play in this contest, as we saw last week. Starting to use him a little bit more. Ken Dorsey is. The pass game work, the PPR upside was always going to be there for a James Cook, but now with the rushing upside and the ability that he does possess, he just has to stop shaking so much. No more, side steps. Do one cut and bam, you're gone, because James Cook has those wheels to get to the house. Mid-level risk for both these men. It's going to be a tough start for a James Cook still, because we need more proof in the pudding. Devin Singletary, start at your own risk, but I understand it is bye-week trouble, so I do not hate a start for Devin Singletary. Stephon Diggs, low risk along with a Gabe Davis. I'm giving them both low risk. I'm firing both these individuals up in this contest. Diggs has been just phenomenal. 11 boom games out of 12. You can't hate that, man. That is just straight up consistency for a Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis, he's seen better days, but I think they're going to get him more acclimated in this offense as they get more creative, as they move forward with this season. Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs should have very good days. Isaiah McKenzie, high-level risk for me. I don't like it once again. I understand some argue the flex play because of PPR upside and the potential for those, slant routes to the end zone. I don't like it. Dawson Knox still remains extremely TD dependent, and I just can't trust it right now. You can find a different tight end to give you point productivity. The Carolina Panthers taking on those Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. The resurrection of Sam Darnold, like a phoenix rising from the sun. Sam Darnold, okay? I mean, the Bake Show, excuse me, my voice is just gone. But, Sam Darnold, he looked better than, I remembered him being decent enough, and he looked good enough to coming off the bench, playing his first game. I'm giving him a mid-level risk versus the Seattle Seahawks defense that is still gashable at times, and they do got some injuries to deal with. Those Seahawks do. So Sam Darnold, I do not recommend playing him unless you're in deeper leagues and struggling, or super flex leagues and you're struggling for a quarterback. Deontay Foreman gets a low-level risk. Yes, there was some injury concerns on this man. Did not see him on the injury report. Everyone was rushing to the wire to grab a Chuba Hubbard. This may be a 60-40 split, so I do believe volume will still go in the direction of a Foreman versus one of the worst rushing defenses in the entire NFL. So I'm going Deontay Foreman with a low-risk play. DJ Moore, mid-level risk, and it's all dependent on how good the Seahawks defensive backs continue to play. And I think there's room for DJ Moore to at least find some opportunity, especially with him being the clear-cut number one wide receiver on this team. He does have volume upside for sure, but I'm still giving him a mid-level risk just in case. Laviska Shenault gets a boomer bust once again. You're not playing that. Terrace Marshall, he is a mid-level risk once again. Too volatile for me to play, though, so we're just going to continue down that path. And Tommy Tremble, high-level risk. You're not playing him at all this week, even though the Seahawks defense is pretty, trash when it comes to giving up big plays. The Cincinnati Bengals taking on those Cleveland Browns. Joey B coming off beating Patrick Mahomes. They can just figure out Patrick Mahomes, but he can't figure out these Cleveland Browns. You tell me what's going on, man. Joey B gets a low-level risk. It's time. It's time to beat these Cleveland Browns with distinction. I like Joey B, low-level risk. 11 boom games for this man as well. Between Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, they all have 11 boom games. You know who only has the perfect season so far is Jalen Hurts, man. He's got 12. So, Joey B, easy low-level risk play for me. The running back room is a little bit interesting. Joe Mixon is pegged to return in this contest from his concussion, but Sam J. P. Ryan has been playing extremely well for the Cincinnati Bengals. Almost gave them a different dynamic in this offense. The tough running style where the play-action pass, was much better with a P. Ryan than it was Joe Mixon, surprisingly enough. But I do believe that they could split the carries in this contest as they get Joe Mixon back from his past 2 weeks of being, not playing on the field. I could definitely see a 50-50 split in this contest between them. So I'm giving them both mid-level risk. We should see at least a touchdown scored by one of these running backs in this contest. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins get low-level risks for me. You're firing up both these men in Week 14 if you got them, because Cleveland Browns defense, man, it's seen better days in that secondary, and Joe Burrow should be able to do some damage, especially at home against these Browns. He will foil the Brownies in this contest, in my opinion. Tyler Boyd, he gets a mid-level risk. He would have had a very much a boom game last week if he didn't drop that wide-open touchdown that was coming his way. Mid-level risk. He does still possess PPR upside. Flex play this week for a Tyler Boyd. I don't dislike it, but I would, if you do have better options, I would look in that direction as well. But Tyler Boyd, I don't hate in the flex. Mitchell Wilcox filling in for the injured Hayden Hurst. You're not playing that tight end either because it's just too difficult to trust that. Cleveland Browns taking on those Cincinnati Bengals. Deshaun Watson comes back. Excuse me. Deshaun Watson does come back from, his suspension, doesn't do very well. 6.3 points on the board. We knew the rust was going to be heavy in that contest. He hasn't played ball in 700 days? You had to know that Deshaun Watson was going to be a problem fantasy-wise. We shall see. This is the game you want to see him at least take that other step in the right direction to, shake off those cobwebs and, get back to playing ball. Deshaun Watson, I don't like playing him this week again. I'm going to put him on my bench. If he pops off, great. You're going into the playoffs with a great quarterback. I think there are other better options on the streaming service on the waiver wire than Deshaun Watson this week. Nick Chubb, man, low-level risk for me. He needs a bounce back, and he should get it in this contest as well, even though the Bengals, they're pretty decent versus the run, but I still like Nick Chubb to bounce back. Heavy, low-risk play. Kareem Hunt, mid-level risk. They're kind of using him. They're not. I wish it was a lot better for Kareem Hunt. I mean, outside of the first 4 weeks of the season, Kareem Hunt has been basically a ghost, and he's been very difficult to trust. But again, bye-week troubles, you might be forced to start Kareem Hunt. I am definitely one of those owners, and I'm going to fire him up because of bye-week trouble. Hopefully, we hope for the best, and they start utilizing him in the PPR game. Why do I say that? Because we got Amari Cooper with a questionable tag. He's got an injured hip. Man, I'm struggling with his voice right now. Sorry about that, guys. But, I mean, Amari Cooper, he does have a hip problem, but, I mean, maybe they're just blowing it out of proportion. But this could also impact the fact that we could see more PPR upside to a Kareem Hunt and a Donovan Peoples-Jones. So we shall see. I'm hoping that a lot of that share does go more to Hunt than it does DPJ. But DPJ, I'm also giving a low-level risk. He's just been too good. He's returning kicks now for touchdowns. He's been very good in the offensive scheme right now as a supportive piece. DPJ, I do believe he is a low-risk play this week. David Njoku, I'm going to give him a mid-level coming off the injury. Maybe Deshaun Watson utilizes this man and checkdowns and safe options, and there is always potential of TD upside. I'm going to give him a mid-level risk. I don't dislike the start for David Njoku this week as well. Dallas Cowboys, the boys taking on the Houston Texans. And good Lord, what a matchup for Week 14 for all of you Dallas Cowboy player owners. Dak Prescott, stud start. I'll rhyme this off straight up because there is a lot of green on my list right here. If you guys are on YouTube listening on the podcast, I do got the graphics up, and there's a lot of green. That means it's good. Dak Prescott, stud start, man. Zeke Elliott, low-level risk. Tony Pollard, stud start. CeeDee Lamb, low-level risk. Michael Gallup, he's got TD upside this week. And Dalton Schultz, low-level risk, man. They're going to put up another 50 on these Houston Texans. Dallas Cowboys did not stop last week when they were, foot on the gas, and they continued to hammer the team. They will do that again this week, especially with all the injuries Houston is dealing with. Davis Mills back in the lineup. Man, the Dallas Cowboys, get ready, Cowboys fans. You're going to see another boatload of points. I believe the spread is at 17. I'm hitting the 17, as crazy as that sounds. The Denver Broncos taking on those Kansas City Chiefs, and I mean, good Lord almighty, when will the season end for the Denver Broncos? You guys wish you could forfeit the rest of your games. It's been bad. It's been really bad and ugly. Yeah, can't handle it right now. Gave up all the draft picks for Russell Wilson. He has not done anything for you. High-level risk for Russ. He should be on your waiver wire, not trusting that. Latavius Murray, he does get a low-level risk for me because there's some volume upside here that is key. 4 boom games for Lat Murray right now. Kansas City is susceptible to giving up, a good amount of rushing yards. However, the only caveat I say, if this game gets out of hand early, Lat may not see the field as much, so there is some risk involved there as well. Hopefully he finds his way into the end zone early, and then if Patrick Mahomes does what Patrick Mahomes does, then the game's out of hand, but hopefully he saves his day with a touchdown. Jerry Jeudy, mid-level risk. He should be locked up for a majority of the day. No Cortland Sutton. He is out with an injury. Kendall Hinton, he's a high-level risk. I don't like that either, but I do got Greg Dulcich as another low-level risk play in this offense because he showed out last week as well. The fact that he is a safety blanket for a Russ Wilson. There aren't that many receiving options now. The running back room doesn't even have a check down for Russ at this point. Very, very difficult to trust anything else. Greg Dulcich, Lat Murray, I'm giving low-level risks for both these men. The Detroit Lions taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Jared Goff and these Lions dropping 40 last week. Can you believe they're favored? I can't believe it. -2 points for the Detroit Lions over the Minnesota Vikings, who are 10-2. This is crazy talk, but I understand because, when you look at it on paper, you look at how the Lions are playing right now. They're playing very good football, very tough team to beat, lots of heart, and, the coach has got him going every single week. Jared Goff, low-level risk. I believe you could play him once again and feel very comfortable doing that. DeAndre Swift, low-level risk. He is back with a vengeance. They gave him more carries, and he repaid us all, man. I was telling one of the, members or one of our staff members, I said, he's DeAndre Swift. Do I play him this week? I said, I got the biggest gut feeling he's going to go off, and he sure did. Almost 20 points, half PPR. You got to love that, man. Jamal Williams, he gets a mid-level risk. He's good for a touchdown basically every single week when they get on the inside the 5-yard line, so you can fire up both the running backs in Detroit as you can with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Low-level risk for Amon-Ra. Again, PPR upside. He's just catching 11, 12 balls a game now. It's just gorgeous what Amon-Ra has been able to do. Jamison Williams, he got back on the field last week. They're starting to, create some opportunities now in practice from what I saw this past week to get him the ball, at least get his football feet back. Still high-level risk. You're not playing him, but I'm only putting him here because the sky may be rising for the fantasy playoffs for a Jamison Williams. On the other hand, I am liking a DJ Chark once again this week. He does have flex appeal and flex upside this week once again. 4 or 5 catches last week for almost 100 yards. DJ Chark is a wide receiver 1 playing a wide receiver 2 role on this Lions team. You can absolutely trust a DJ Chark this week. You're not trusting this tight end either. It's very difficult to find a good tight end these days. No kidding, man. But the Houston Texans taking on those Dallas Cowboys. And much the opposite of what I had for the Cowboys with all green, I got all red on this Houston Texans squad. Davis Mills, high-level risk. Phillip Dorsett, high risk. Chris Moore, high risk. Jordan Akins, high risk. You're not playing any of these guys outside of potential garbage time appeal. I just don't foresee the Dallas Cowboys defense, taking the night off for this one. You have no Brandon Cooks. You have no Nico Collins. They're both out with injury. The only mid-level risk I got is for Dameon Pierce, only because it is, volume upside for him once again. But I really struggle even with a Dameon Pierce to start him this week because this game could get out of hand very quick and very early, and you're going to be sitting there with maybe, 6 points from a Dameon Pierce? I do not like it whatsoever. So if you're only stuck with no running backs to play, then I understand, but I'm definitely cautious on playing a Dameon Pierce this week. The Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Tennessee Titans, and we got Trevor Lawrence dealing with a toe injury. He looked good. He looked good enough, and they're moving in the right direction. There still is going to be stumble, but, you got to basically say this is his rookie season. Right now, he's got a new system. Things have improved. They have looked better overall. I'm giving Lawrence a mid-level risk versus the Titans defense that can be gashed through the air. A.J. Brown was able to do it, so you got to think Trevor Lawrence is going to be able to at least move the ball through the air quite a bit. We got Travis Etienne. He needs a bounce-back game like no other. Coming off the foot thing, they took him out of that game. Didn't crack 10 points last week. Very difficult to trust. I understand that, but I got low level on an Etienne this week. I think he's going to be able to do some damage. Hopefully more work in the pass game as well to inflate those stats, as is Christian Kirk. Low-level risk, much like A.J. Brown carved him up. Yes, it's a different player. Christian Kirk is not A.J. Brown, but I do believe that there's going to be a lot of targets coming his way, and he should find his way into the end zone. Fire up Christian Kirk as well. PPR upside always going to a Zay Jones, so I'm giving him a mid-level pop this week. I think you could start him in a flex spot as well. There is enough volume to go around now with Trevor Lawrence spreading the ball to most of his wide receivers. Marvin Jones does get a high-level risk. I'm not playing him. Evan Ingram, on the other hand, I'm going to give him another mid-level risk. He scored a touchdown last week, so he likely will not find the end zone again based on my consistency charts, but he is a decent play at the tight end spot versus Tennessee Titans. So if you're struggling, I am starting a Evan Ingram. The Kansas City Chiefs taking on those Denver Broncos. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, every single week, stud start. I don't care, and the thing is, okay, I'm going to caveat that here just a little bit. While Mahomes continues to be the stud start, Kelce has not looked great the last 2 weeks, giving us subpar showings. He still is over 200 fantasy points, half PPR. The fumble last week is going to make him pissed off. I know this for a fact, and he's going to take out all his aggression on these Denver Broncos. Get ready for Travis Kelce to find his way back into the end zone, hence why I say stud start for Travis Kelce. Isaiah Pacheco does get a low-level risk. They're utilizing him, and he's running the ball extremely well. He's finding the end zone, and he's getting 10 to 15 carries per game, and the run game is decently working. 75.7 points for a Pacheco. You can trust him this week once again. Jerick McKinnon, he does have some upside, and that is in the PPR game. If you are really stuck, I don't like it. I don't advise it. But I would say that Jerick McKinnon, out of a lot of running backs, does give you PPR potential to at least get you, 7 points, this week, next week. Denver Broncos, this game could get out of hand where Pacheco would see the sideline a little bit more, and McKinnon would get, I might have said McKissick, I apologize, but McKinnon, he should get a lot of work if this game does get out of hand. Juju Smith-Schuster gets a mid-level risk, hasn't looked right since the concussion. Maybe this is the week that they break out, but Patrick Surtain is definitely going to be on him, so it's going to be a tough show for him as well. MVS, Valdez-Scantling, high-level risk. They're only going to take the deep shots here and there, not near enough volume, as is Sky Moore. He does have a low floor, even though the volume was there. Kadarius Toney, questionable with a hamstring. There is a lot of weapons on this Chiefs offense now to deal with. Does make it a little more difficult. The only really steady hands you got is Mahomes, Pacheco, and Kelce at this point. LA Chargers. And I don't know, man. These guys, Jekyll and Hyde, once again, the coaching is just not great. The defense is not playing well. They're taking on Miami on Sunday Night Football. And Justin Herbert, everybody's criticizing him, saying that he's not the, next elite passer. I don't believe it. I do believe that Justin Herbert is very good. I think that the Chargers desperately require a new offensive coordinator. They need a great offensive coordinator to teach him how to play ball that much better, be more creative. Lombardi is just not the guy. I'm still giving a low-level risk to Herbert. You're starting him this week, as is Austin Eckler, low-level risk, as is Keenan Allen, low-level risk. These three gentlemen are just point producers, and they will continue this week against the Miami Dolphins, who should and are likely, but since before last week, they've been putting up 30 points a game. Yes, it was versus weaker competition, but against the Chargers defense that could be without Derwin James, expect another 30-point spot again, so you got to believe that Justin Herbert is going to have to throw his way out of all these troubles, and Keenan Allen should be a very big recipient of that. Mike Williams is back in the mix. He does not get an injury designation. I'm still putting one on him this week. I'm not trusting it for anything. If the playoffs are on the line and you've made it this far without a Mike Williams, I am not playing Mike Williams this week. I know what do I always say? It's, you play your starters that got you here. That's what you do at this point. You drafted him for a reason. I completely understand. I'm just terrified to death of that ankle. I think they're rushing it once again. I do not trust it based on the injury. As of Josh Palmer, I will fire him up over a Mike Williams with a mid-level risk. Maybe something of a hot take, but I don't like the Mike Williams injury right now. I got to see at least one game before I could trust it that he is back to full health. Gerald Everett does get a mid-level risk. He's good enough for a 8-point spot every single week in this offense where tight ends are very hard to come by. I'm definitely firing up at Gerald Everett as well. The Miami Dolphins in the same contest taking on these Chargers on Sunday Night Football. Tua Tagovailoa, mid-level risk. I tried. I want to. And he just folds like Gumby. I have you seen the hits that this man takes? He just folds in half like he's got no spine. I don't understand. But he's going to have a bounce back after the thrashing they took from the 49ers this past week. Tua should have a very good day, as will Tyreek Hill. I'm giving Tyreek a stud start this week. So you're saying, why are you giving the stud start to Tyreek in a mid-level to a Tua? Because I'm cautious with Tua, where I'm not with Tyreek, because I think that he's going to be able to gash this Chargers secondary that has seen better days. Jeff Wilson, mid-level risk. I think he gets a lot more touches than a Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert has the low floor for me, where Wilson should be a little bit safer, a touch safer. 7 boom games for a Jeff Wilson. It is very good. Jalen Waddle still dealing with some nagging injuries. I'm going to give him the low risk. He's been killing us the last couple weeks. I get it, but it's time to pop off, okay? Tyreek, 10 boom games. Jalen Waddle has 8. They were neck and neck throughout the entire season. I'm playing both Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Low-level risk for Waddle. Mike Gesicki continues to be in my doghouse. I will not trust it. High-level risk for that, man. Minnesota Vikings taking on those Detroit Lions. And, okay, here's the thing. It's disrespectful because to see Minnesota, a 10-2 team, being the underdog, you have to know that this team is going to come out throwing the ball and throwing it a lot to Justin Jefferson. The Detroit Lions are playing good. No disrespect. They're playing good football right now. But this is one of those things. You're not ready for this yet, man. You got to crawl before you walk, and just because you're taking high-end teams to the wire, you're not ready to be favored just yet, in my opinion. I think Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook take a great deal of offense to being the underdog, and they are going to play lights-out football. Low-level risk for a Kirk Cousins, stud star for a Dalvin Cook, stud star for a Justin Jefferson. You're going to see points flying all over this board. Don't get me wrong, it's coming, man. Adam Thielen, mid-level risk, always the chance for PPR upside, but we also got a revenge game for a TJ Hawkinson, hence why I got a mid-level for a Thielen. I think a lot of targets are going to go to TJ because he's going to try to stick it to his ex-club that traded him away to a division foe, so it's going to be interesting, but I think the Minnesota Vikings prevail and put up a lot of points on the scoreboard. The New England Patriots taking on those Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football. Mac Money Jones looking better. I mean, not great, but looking better. Mid-level risk for him this week against the Cardinals defense that is, susceptible to giving up big plays as well. Ramondre Stevenson, low risk. You got to get back in the good graces. What does he do? We want to see more yards and a touchdown, but he is the PPR savior in the end of games on the check down. Mac Money Jones just checks the ball down to Ramondre every single time, so we're always getting that good floor of, PPR upside. Damian Harris is an injury risk, as is Jacoby Myers, injury risk. The thigh with a Harris and a concussion with Myers. I don't like it. I think they're both trending on the wrong side of playing this week, so you're probably going to have to look in another direction in that sense as well. If Myers does sit, that does uplift Devontae Parker to a mid-level for me, as well as a Nelson Aguilar. If Myers plays, I got Parker as a high-level risk and Aguilar as a mid-level risk this week, so pick your poison on which one you're starting in that regard. I think Aguilar probably has the better day. Hunter Henry, high-level risk. You just can't trust it because he's just not scoring touchdowns, and it does not bode well. The New York Football Giants taking on these Philadelphia Eagles, who are just an absolute terror. Any team that's going up against them right now, you got your hands full. Daniel Pennies, I'm giving him high-level risk. You cannot play him. I mean, it's just been bad football overall, and now with word that Saquon Barkley might be out because of a neck injury, if it couldn't get any worse, man, Saquon Barkley, if he does not play, he's going to cripple a lot of clubs trying to make it into the fantasy playoffs. However, I will say this, for volume upside, it's going to be ugly because the Eagles' defense is very good. I would still pick up a Matt Breida if that is the case and Barkley does not suit up. Breida is your best option because it's just straight-up volume. You're likely going to see at least 15 carries from a Breida, so hopefully he finds a way in the end zone. He's got enough wheels to at least get in the end zone on a big play. Hopefully that does happen, but hopefully Saquon Barkley is going to suit up and he doesn't break all of our hopes and dreams this week. Slayton, he gets a mid-level risk because the defense in Philly is great as always. Richie James, high level. He does have PPR upside though, but I'm not starting James. Isaiah Hodgins, Buffalo Bills fans know this guy. Now all of a sudden he's back on my board. Excuse me. And there is TD upside for this man. He's a big type body wide receiver. He will have red zone appeal going on all day long. Mid-level risk only for TD upside. Daniel Bellinger at this point still high-level risk as he's working his way back to football shape from that broken eye socket, but it likely will not be a great day for these New York Giants, man. The New York Jets taking on these Buffalo Bills. Mike White, okay, so you got Garrett Wilson singing the praise of endorsement that Mike White, he's going to go to war. He would, do anything for this man is basically his words. I'm paraphrasing, but it was to some degree that's what he said. Mike White gets a mid-level risk versus the Buffalo Bills. He is decent enough right now that he's, feeling confident, feeling himself a little bit, and he's understanding how to move this ball down the field. It's quite easy when you got a baller like Garrett Wilson, who I'm giving a low-level risk against the Buffalo Bills. Garrett Wilson is a stud. He was my second graded wide receiver behind a Chris Olave in this past draft. And, I mean, Garrett Wilson is a stud. No kidding about that. Michael Carter, he does get PPR upside. Where Bam Knight, he's got volume upside. I still like Bam Knight over Carter in this contest. Ty Johnson might get sprinkled in as well with that PPR game. So Bam Knight is your safer option, only for volume upside. He just needs to find his way into the end zone to, take you over the top of that 15 points that we're looking for. Garrett Wilson, like I said, low-level risk. Elijah Moore, high-level. It's just not enough volume coming his way. Why do they hate this man? Why didn't you trade him away? To give him to a team that can actually use him. The New York Jets, you just baffle me sometimes. Corey Davis, mid-level risk. Third option, basically fourth option in this pass game, and Corey Davis is making things happen once again, especially with Garrett Wilson taking the top coverage his direction. Corey Davis has, crawled back to life with a Mike White that's able to support it all. Tyler Conklin may be able to get into this game and get you a 10-point threshold. The Bills may be without a Matt Milano, so that could open up some room in the pass game for the tight end spot. No kidding about that. The Philadelphia Eagles taking on those New York Giants. Jalen Hurts, what'd I say, man? 12 out of 12 games. He has boomed for your fantasy club. Your stud starting this man every single week. That rushing upside is crazy. I mean, every time they play man coverage against the Eagles, what are you doing? He just sees backs turn to him, and he's taken off for 40 yards down the field. Jalen Hurts has been an absolute revelation once again this year. 307 total fantasy points. He is unbelievable right now, and you know what? I got to give credit where it's due. Jalen Hurts, you've won me over, my man, and I do believe in the skill set, even in the throwing aptitude. You've definitely proved me wrong in that respect. Miles Sanders gets a low-level risk. He was basically given the day off last week. I told y'all to sit him last week. I'm telling y'all to start him this week. Miles Sanders definitely bounces back versus the New York Giants. Kenneth Gainwell, high-level risk. A.J. Brown, low-level risk. And Deontay Smith, low-level risk. You can easily suit up both these men. Once Dallas Goedert was gone, I mean, now the target share is just going right to these two wide receivers and Miles Sanders. So that's, your forte with the Philadelphia Eagles. Even though the Giants' defense is decent, they're going to have a very difficult time versus the 11-1 Philadelphia Eagles, man. The Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Baltimore Ravens. This one's interesting because it's no Lamar. Kenny Pickett, I've been singing the praise. I've been singing your good graces the last several weeks, and I do believe it again. Even though I am a big fan of the Baltimore Ravens defense, especially with the addition of Roquan Smith, I think they're so good, and they're going to give the Steelers a run for their money offensively. But Kenny Pickett's starting to figure things out, and these next, 5-6 games are going to tell a giant tale of what we're going to believe what Kenny Pickett could be next year. So I do believe he's going to do very well. I believe 128 passes without throwing an interception is on Kenny Pickett's resume right now, so he's definitely doing well. Mid-level for Najee Harris. I think he's been playing hurt all year, man. So this is what the deal is. Mid-level, you're getting anywhere from 7 to 12 points, only if he's finding the end zone. But the offensive line's doing him no favors either. Mid-level risk, you got to start him because of bye week Armageddon. Deontay Johnson, mid-level risk. He's dealing with a hip injury as well. Should be able to suit up. But I'm giving the low-level risk to a George Pickens. George was mad. What can you say? He was angry. Tomlin defended him, but he said, throw me the effing ball. And why aren't you throwing him the ball? He is your best receiver on this offense. No disrespect to Deontay Johnson, but George Pickens is an alpha dog. And I fully expect him to get peppered with targets to, quiet down, the muzzle the mouth just a little bit and say, you wanted target share? Here's your target share, George. And I do believe he's going to see at least 8 to 10 targets in this game from Kenny Pickett. Pat Freiermuth, easy start for me every week. He's just too consistent for me in a weak tight end group overall in fantasy football. San Francisco 49ers taking on Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No Jimmy G, broken foot, horrific. They're saying it was no Liz Frank. That's a positive. He may be able to return late in the postseason, but that's even a stretch to say the least. This is tough. If you're Kyle Shanahan, what do you got to do to finish a season with your starting quarterback and a healthy quarterback? Brock Purdy, it may not look pretty, but he might do some good things on the field. He goes 17.2 points in his first game in relief of the injured Jimmy G. I like him. I think he's a safe quarterback. He's just above that threshold of just being a game-managing type of QB. I like his game. I think he's got enough, in the arsenal to support this wide receiver room decently enough. Christian McCaffrey still dealing with that knee. No issues for him suiting up, as is Debo dealing with that quad. Different injury than the hamstring, so we got a low-level risk on CMC. Easy start, obviously, every week. I got to do it, man. I mean, a mid-level risk on a Deebo Samuel once again. He's very hard to trust right now. It's very difficult. 124.6 points out of 13 weeks. Not near good enough for what we expect from Deebo Samuel. They're not running the ball with him near enough. Obviously, they got CMC to do that work now. But he's clearly hurting. The hamstring, the quad, it's everything to do with his speed and agility. Very hard to cut with all those injuries. But Brandon Ayuk, I again, I'm going to go give him a low-level risk. Yes, he almost popped last week. Just missed the cut for 10 points. But, I mean, I still like it. They're giving them enough target share. Couple drops here or there. End zone tosses are going to come their way. Tampa Bay's defense is not the same unit as it used to be, and there's ability to at least get the pass game working. George Kittle, mid-level risk. I think they got to, utilize him a lot more. I'm only concerned with it. You got to start George Kittle everywhere you got him. I'm just a little concerned with the top-end productivity just because we haven't seen it in a few weeks, and we got Brock Purdy playing the football. So, I mean, do some Purdy things, Purdy. I'm going to run out of that joke real quick. Seattle Seahawks taking on those Carolina Panthers. Geno Smith. It's difficult not to root for Geno, especially with the perspective he has on life. Low-level risk for me versus Carolina Panthers, who are basically done, and Seattle is continuing down the path to try to win this division. Kenneth Walker III, this is the biggest problem. He is questionable with an ankle. They have not ruled him out just yet as far as I have seen. So, I mean, you definitely got to watch, the injury report to see if he is going to suit up. Travis Homer's hurting. You got DJ Dallas hurting. You got Jones, the other running back. He's hurting as well. So we'll see. It's going to be a crapshoot. Whoever's going to be in the backfield is going to be your volume key. So whoever gets the start, if it is coming off the waiver wire, look for the volume upside in that respect. DK Metcalf, he is dealing with a hip injury as well. What's up with these wide receivers all having hip injuries? I don't get it, but I'm still giving low levels to him and Lockett. They have just been too good with Geno. It's been very consistent overall. 8 boom games for Metcalf, were 9 for Lockett. It's very consistent week in, week out. Geno Smith has had the ability and proven it to feed both these wide receivers on the regular. Both tight ends, I am not trusting once again in Disley and Fant. You just cannot do it. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're taking on those San Francisco 49ers. This should be a very interesting show. And I mean, is this the first time in a long time that I have given Tom Brady a high-level risk? I think it has. I am not starting Tom Brady. This 49ers defense is so good. It is legit what they were able to do to these teams. Miami got, stifled. New Orleans Saints couldn't even run the ball, couldn't move the ball. Tom Brady's going to struggle, especially with how this offense is not gelling right now. They are going to struggle immensely with this offensive line that is patch-made and put together. Do not play a Tom Brady this week. Leonard Fournette dealing with another injury. It's on a foot. Mid-level risk for him. Where Rachaad White, mid-level risk. You got to understand it's going to be 50-50 splits now moving forward. Highly likely for both these running backs. So you're hoping for, top-end, touchdowns to, take you over the top. Rachaad White is the better back for me right now, only because of youth and lack of injuries. Mike Evans, I'm usually on the low-level risk for this man. I got him on a mid-level. It's difficult because you got to play him. He's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. This offense is not moving in that direction. Mid-level risk, Evans has been disappointing for the most part this season. Even though he'll likely get to 1,000 yards, he just hasn't popped off in several weeks, and it is extremely frustrating. Chris Godwin, on the other hand, I will give a low-level risk because there is, shorter routes, better routes for Tom Brady to find a Chris Godwin. Yes, the touchdown upside is not there as it used to be, but Godwin to me is a safer option over a Mike Evans, as is Julio Jones. Cade Otton, low floor for Julio every week, and TD upside only for a Cade Otton. Start at your own risk. I do not like either one of them this week. Tennessee Titans taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Last one on my board to finish this off. Ryan Tannehill, he gets a mid-level risk. Even though we got Treylon Burks, he is out of this contest. I believe it is a concussion as well. Tough break for this kid this season, just dealing with a plethora of injuries. Still a mid-level risk for Ryan Tannehill. I think they're going to be able to expose this Jacksonville defense just a little bit, enough to get Tannehill above 15-point threshold. Derrick Henry, stud start only because he loves to play these Jacksonville Jaguars, and he hasn't popped off in a little bit. So, 8 boom games out of 12 for King Henry. Definitely not good enough. He's going to definitely go off in this contest. He just absolutely thirsts when he plays the Jaguars. Hilliard, high-level risk, but does possess PPR upside. Too hard to trust. Bobby Trees, Robert Woods still has that low floor. They just don't utilize him enough to play him, but this could be the game without a Treylon Burks back, as is Westbrook Akina. If you got to pick your poison, it is Westbrook-Akeen over Robert Woods. As funny as that is to say, Austin Hooper gets a mid-level risk as well for me. There is touchdown appeal in an Austin Hooper, but it's very highly volatile. But I do see it in the red zone. If they do get inside the 10-yard line, Austin Hooper could definitely catch a touchdown this week for these Tennessee Titans. So there you have it. That is week number 14, last-ditch effort to get in the fantasy football playoffs. Once again, I do apologize for my voice. I need some, bioflavins or some, I don't even know what I need, man. I need some medical attention, apparently, because my voice just doesn't work anymore. But nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me your thoughts, give me your start-sit questions, and please do me that favor, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button as we continue to grow this channel. And do not go away for the offseason. Got you covered with a boatload of content. But nevertheless, enjoy the games this weekend, and we'll see you next time. I am out.